Welcome to Beauty Flip. I'm Edda. I'm here to give you the sacred tools so that you can work out in the real world. Yep, practical wisdom with a spiritual pulse. Hey baby dolls, we are diving into the body, and this time we're going to dive in deep. And I have my first guest. Let's see what's cooking at Beauty Flip today. Welcome, my fabulous little human beings. I'm so excited for today as we dive into a very specific area of this trilogy, if you will, and that is our relationship with our body. I have our first guest. I've been promising you. First of many. Her name is Lauren Henley, and she, like me, works with all sorts of ways of healing. She is a beautiful healer, and the ways that she specifically heals is to help people with helping their body come back online and their relationship with the divine and the body really heal. I have been blessed to work with her as a client, and even more blessed to find a friendship and a partnership in our healing journeys and guiding people to heal. So we're going to meet her shortly, but let's talk about the body for a moment. The body is something that, to some degree, and you'll hear us talk about it, how we hold it as a vehicle to get through this life at best. Sometimes maybe we have some pride for it, but often we see it as something that is detrimental to us. This comes from a very, very early age, and if you are a woman or if you are a marginalized person, ultimately we are in a situation where we ourselves are considered, if you remember last week, commodities. So we ourselves are taken advantage of and used far more harshly in this patriarchal system. Lauren, speaks about the ways that we need to break through, sort of, if you will, the encoding. You'll hear the two of us say that we're speaking from our body because, truthfully, our bodies have a wealth of information. And so by this, what we did is we tapped into the deeper knowing, kind of allowing our brain to quiet and finding the deeper knowing of what our bodies want to share. We will be diving into deep and powerful conversations in the next few episodes to months of episodes to really understand both what it is to live in a body, and 2, what it is that we fight against, and 3, how we heal. So without further ado, I invite you to listen to both Lauren and I as we share our vision and message for you. So today, we are going to talk about the power of what we're really here for. Lauren, what do you want to say to us?
Well, Edda has invited me to evoke the voice of my body, which I am always building more and more capacity around. And, I think it's really interesting that this is called the Beauty Flip and that your work is so much around beauty, because that is something that my body and I are really reconciling together right now.
Thank you.
And the message I got today as I came in and was working on my beauty was like my body's scared to allow me to access my beauty again, that she believes that if I do, I won't care for her.
Yeah.
Because it's actually her kind of putting on all this weight and hiding me from my beauty. That has been the whole activation to my understanding of how valuable my body is, other bodies are. And so then also I've been feeling how the message of where she's telling me, like, you keep wanting me to get better, get stronger, get healthier, but you don't acknowledge like the pain and the suffering and how much abuse I've endured.
Yeah.
And I have a niece and she's 2. And I don't know, it's the first little girl that I've been around like that. And it's like my body's getting a reminder of a lot of things, a lot about its innocence, a lot about how sensitive it is, how tender it was even at those young ages. And so I'm being made aware, and she's wanting me to really acknowledge her experience, you know. And I just find it so interesting because it's so much of what we as women want.
100%.
To be acknowledged. And so it's so often that I feel like I am the patriarchal oppressor of my feminine system. So that's what I have been most in touch with.
I am so deeply touched. My body is so deeply touched. And because it is true, I see the torture that I myself have put myself through, and so many people put themselves through, almost like you were saying, this dominance over our being, where we pretty much never accept it, and historically, without healing, never accept it, and often criticize and torture it in order to be something unattainable that is unrealistic and actually isn't even real beauty. That's the thing. It's just almost like a mask. And it's frightening when I think about that billions of people walk around doing that. As I'm sitting here just experiencing what my body experiences on a daily basis, the levels of ways that, people starve themselves or, do surgeries just so that they somehow are good looking enough, less old looking, all these varieties. And I think at the core for me is this sort of, again, I hear a calling, that a promise, like if you do these things, you will not have any pain. And I actually think you have far more pain when you do them all. And again, it's not to say, please go get your hair done. Do the things you do, but be careful what voice you're listening to.
Yeah, I think that this kind of conversation of artificial beauty and true beauty, and what does even that mean, and the only thing I can connect to is the awe that I experience in a sunrise, or these natural beautiful landscapes that are so unique and so strange, and so I think that my body and I are discovering what is beauty if it's not, designing for the male gaze. What is beauty if it's not being homogenous with whatever is kind of the trend in what's acceptable in our culture. What is beauty to me? When do I feel beautiful? What creates that? And there's always been, and I feel like I've come so far, but I know there's still so much conditioning around that, and there's almost exhaustion. I think that's a lot of what I'm healing, is the exhaustion of literally, 30 years of judging, condemning, criticizing, doing extreme diets, and just the number of things that I did to my body. And that's why it's even though I was abused many times over in many situations, my body's actually you abused me, and you, a lot of those situations you chose, and you gave this message to me. And so even though I was conditioned and I got all these messages, the repair is in the relationship between me and her.
I love that. I've been doing my own healing work on many levels, I really saw the hatred, and I experience this often when I'm coaching people, the hatred that most people have with pretty much all of their body, and certainly they'll have certain aspects. And to me, that is the conditioning, because somehow A, it reminds them of their vulnerability, or B, places where they've been hurt in the past and or are afraid of being hurt again, and see it is when we turn towards that voice, we are then choosing to go back into a format of competition and tearing each other down.
Right, and that's distinguishing between life's voice and the programming in your own. Because, and that is the ways that all of our bodies are indigenous, so this is coming up again.
Yeah.
I think that there's indigenous core earth aligned programming in every body, and then there were like layers of blueprints put on top of it. And so not only are we learning to hear the voice of our body, but we're learning to distinguish all the different voices that are happening at one time.
Right. And in my own experience, when I actually listen to my body, it is miraculous. You were talking about a sunset. There are times I feel so deeply at home, a home that I can't describe to you, that's on earth, that is somewhere so deeply spiritual, that everything around me quiets to the most quiet and holds me in the most loving way. I think this is our true calling, and I think truthfully people in power are afraid if we all tapped into that, what would they do? How could they keep their fiefdom over us?
Yeah, I think that, you know, at the end of the day, the way I think about it is we kind of all evolve on a different timeline. Like there's waves of consciousness, like generations of consciousness, just like generations of humans.
Yeah.
And some beings got to the place of recognizing their eternal power and remembering their divinity. And then they realize, well, if we remember it and we hold it as a secret, then we can create all of these bodies that aren't connected to that, and we can enslave those bodies. And then we can use those bodies to build what we want to build here.
What I would call all the house of cards.
And so I think that we're walking back from, and as obviously in our country we have such a terrible history of building the entire world on top of free labor or stolen labor. But I believe that this pattern goes back into Egypt, into Atlantis, into
for sure.
I think that this has been something that we were taught by the original beings that came to this planet. And maybe not all, but and as a result we're still trying to complete.
Like if we were going to school, what a lesson we're trying to learn here, because it feels like so many times we come just to the cusp of really learning this as individuals, as society, and as you were saying, some people really light up and like really begin to feel these things, and yet somehow it's like, I think there's not a person out there that's like, haven't we already seen this before? We've had already 2 world wars. You know, we decimate each other 1,000,001 times over. There's so many ways we are so cruel to each other in the name of, you know, my territory, your territory, all these crazy things. And I just keep saying, to what end, right? To what end? And I think if we ask that question more, we might find that it's a really kind of boring thing that we keep doing.
Well, I think part of it is because so few souls, like, we still believe we're dying. We still believe we're coming in this one lifetime from 0 to like 100, and then we're dying and it's over. So we're coming in and just creating what we want in that timeline. And so what I believe is that if we were understanding and remembering that we're eternal, which I think as consciousness evolves, like I think eventually very soon you're going to wake up in the next life and remember being Edda, like very detailed, and be like, where's my daughter, where's my husband? But now you're in a whole other
life
body. And you create differently when you realize, truly remember fully. You wake up in a life and you're just picking up where you left off.
For sure.
Or whatever you created, now it's still there. Or if you polluted the earth, you came back and the earth is worse. Like eventually you have to face that.
For sure. To me, for sure. That is where we definitely land in the world of our karma. Again, given what we just said, what is your body and your deeper intent to all the people who are listening to you right now? What would be the most delicious, delightful, purest message that you would want to invite them to play?
I think I would tell them that I know for pretty certain, in my world at least, that this organic technology of a body is the most sacred and advanced technology ever created in any galaxy, in any timeline. And the ability to touch the person that you love and to feel their face and to smell a beautiful flower is something that we've almost become so numb to. But there are whole timelines and realities where we do not have access to bodies. We don't have access to any of those types of sensations anymore. And from those places, we long for it, and we wish that we had not taken it for granted. And so I would just invite you to not take the experience that you have in your body and all that it offers you for granted.
I love that. And I think what my body would add is like a deep, what is this feeling? Like reverence and love, I guess. You know, I totally agree that we are here with this magnificent ability to belong and be in a third dimension where there is time and there is space. And those things are gifts to slow down eternity and to experience things with 5 senses, and then to understand what that means to a body so we can choose. Those are, I mean, that's right there. Because I think, as you were saying, in so many other dimensions, we are able to manifest and create everything all the time in every way. And here we get to really take time.
Slow it down. And I like how you brought choice into that. Like, I think that's a huge part of this dimension, is that, you know, in the imaginary realm, you can imagine everything and you can see it, but then you bring it into matter and you have other people play with it. You have other people touch it. You get feedback on it. You also see like, oh, this was a great idea in theory in my imaginary realm, but when I put it into matter, it didn't go so well. And so the opportunity for like learning and evolution is so great.
Yeah. And I think there, you know, you talk about bloodlines, but I think that that is kind of the love note. Like, each of us, whether consciously or unconsciously choosing the consequences, they get written. And I truly believe, and this is something that's been in my own spiritual practice, is really getting, there are no victims. We are all choosing at every level. It might not make sense to your human experience. I mean, it came through pretty clear to me the other day that we are all here to experience, to choose, to create, to learn from our creations, as you were saying, and then potentially create something new, to be called in partnership with our bodies and spirit to create, I think, is maybe the bigger dance.
Well, I think that the paradox of a 3D reality where everything is polarized and everything has opposites is that we are all creators and we are always at choice.
Yeah.
And that we have also deeply victimized ourselves and separated from ourselves. And that in order to understand the places where we all have choice, we have to become aware of the ways that we've been victimized.
Yeah.
And so it's just always a paradox. About a year ago, I was working with my personal trainer, and even though I've done all this work on my consciousness and shifting victim consciousness and my minds and my thoughts, I could feel that my body absolutely had a victim consciousness.
Straight up.
And it has been victimized.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm telling you, is the same kind of journey I had to go.
Yeah.
I had to be seen and acknowledged in my victimhood. I had to be supported in my healing in order to experience myself as a creator. And now I'm doing that all over with my body and by bringing my body along to see how much choice that it has.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
That's just like the paradox.
Well, and for me, maybe a paradox, which I totally agree. And at another level, I am seeing so much in when I am working with healing people, healing myself, that in that moment of revealing the deeper pain that created the victimhood consciousness is something where, I'm going to try to say it this way, where in facing that pain allows for all sorts of, whether it's energy, lifting, integrating, a whole bunch of things logistically are going on, but in the essence of the spirit and the body of it, it feels like there is, and I'm going to call it an at-one-ment, and I do mean this word, atonement. There is something where we become at one with ourselves deeper, and potentially, I feel, at one deeper with the greater divine experience.
I'm glad you brought that up. And yes, and what that brings us back to bodies, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think if we even use the experience you said with your client,
yeah,
they are being mirrored by another body. Oh. You are holding space. You exist.
Yes.
And only in bodies can we, that is like the number one thing that a body does. It create, my body looking at your body creates your existence. Yeah. And so when you express something in your body that needs to be healed and it is witnessed by someone else wholly, it can immediately repair.
It really does.
And that's what I think you're calling at-one-ment, atonement. And it's really then how we build capacity to hold each other's suffering and to mirror it, because that's why I think it's not completing, and that's why I think we're staying in so much of a victim consciousness collectively. In society, ultimately we're seeking to be mirrored and to say, do you remember that I was victimized? Can you see this part of me? And can you love this part of me as much as you see my creator, as much as you see all these other parts that you like? And because we're always seeking wholeness, then that just is a constant paradox that we're having to hold with each other.
Yeah. And in some ways, maybe that there is the gift. That is the beauty flip. That is the flipping of script, that it is okay to have pain. It is okay to have a body, and it is okay to go on a journey of the many times in any one day where you feel vulnerable and raw, because then you get the gift, as Lauren is saying, of being witnessed and have the opportunity, as you say, to find wholeness, as I call the atonement or the at-one-ment.
As the more that we can flip the script in ourselves and hold space for our own suffering and accept all the parts of who we are, the more that we can hold that space for atonement, at-one-ment with other people. And I think that is ultimately the medicine that we're looking for in this time.
I agree. I just love having you here. Yes. Oh,
thank you for having me. I'm so glad I got to see you.
We are so happy you joined us. May you have a blessed week, and may you find something that hurts like a motherfucker, and you get a chance to heal it, and someone gets to witness it. With that, we are going to say amen. And we'll say it this way. Amen, sister.
Amen, sister.
Okay, you fabulous boo. I'm wishing you and your gorgeous little vessel adieu. Next week, we'll be diving into so many different ways that the body is here for us, in so many ways that we have forgotten. Okay, have a great week.